것이 하나라. 쇼로는 대창 자다 계속 결고 대마 자다 계속 결고
I would like to wish everyone good morning. So it seems today is the last day of the teaching during the actual Munlam.
딜레야 아니 포도의 치료를 못이 나도 로카시에 느리지 시에비는 바지 로카시에 고스라에서 로징이진 고스라에서 버비트리 정도.
So if I continue teaching the long soliloquy by Potowa in the same manner, it'll take a few more years to finish it, another year or two.
다디 가장 가장 딜이야 슈아인 지시 슈아인 딜이야 가장 딜이야 딕발은 너미 세치만 게 손손도 깨와야 당부로 마트 퇴게 마삼 대외 센딜이야 땅에를 치매 동에는 만zem바 노르투마지 용용다나 루소 최탐제 테라 보니버들 민제외유 동에긴 귤레네버차 타투바디 임버도
First of all, I would like to give some explanation of a passage I read yesterday, the last paragraph on page 4 from the second sentence. First of all, they haven't even heard that misdeeds ripen as rebirth in the 3 lower realms in the next life. Even if they have heard, they do not think of it. Instead, without shrinking from ill repute in this life and suffering in the next, they are able to sacrifice everything, their body, life, and dharma. If it seems they might gain some riches, they deserve our compassion. That is the epitome of wallowing in the causes of suffering.
Tene nor tumba reda sejustane unese nor tumaji insamare ti nor tumji insare 다시 tumma tum nor tum지서 nor tos지 tum부지서 tos지 살지와 제가 nor tos지 당스 ane 다나 신기지 베나 수수 대사 시차사람지 공부하러 있는 데나 김신도 김 대사로 딘드지 용사를 삼나 센디기 가수의 땅에서 주사는 작방에 벗어와 미기 야보 말에 두자를 세대야 대라한 점거 말했어 당하나지 세치마 니송도 동에 충분히나 점거 말했어 너나 류당 소 최냠nen샤 탐지 태가를 왜 르동친이봐 이제 저 상황로 닌지 내서 닌지 유래도
So what this is saying is that if people want some riches, so some riches means some amount of riches. For example, if it might be a good place to stay, whether a monastery or their own house, if they might think it'll work out for a good place to stay or to get some riches, then they do not, if they think that this will work out well, then they do not shrink from gaining ill repute. So ill repute is being known in a bad way. Nor do they shrink away from the suffering of the lower realms in future lives. Instead, they are willing to give up everything, their bodies, their lives, so their dharma practice. And such people really deserve compassion. They are worthy of compassion.
다가나 신기 동에긴 지부침부 주심에게 귤은내봐 타투바 서들서나 가는 귤은내봐 오늘이 다 데레스 동에기 지부침부지 주심에게 귤은내봐 타투바 오늘 뭐마디 데레스.
And so that is the epitome of wallowing in the causes of suffering. So the epitome of wallowing means that this is the actual, real cause of great suffering in the future. This is the epitome or the biggest cause of great suffering.
다 등상 다 드네야 저지 수위 다다 대변 가지도 치네 쾌긴데나 가사상부 지점이 유해체 가리 유해세 지도부 유해체 캡 준바 상와 유엔된다데 또바다데 시엔라 펜 야참부터 유엔미세르 원은 지세르 제베 시리우다 떠주다 신시다 코리오다 롱준 디즘집에 가사 대근디 수신 제바 니게 자와다 되게 자와라서 니게 자와다 니 타마데 노르스입니다 니게 자와다 되게 자와라서 상부 유에 세대 대외 성룩의 노르체와라서 지룩이 내바센데 버송 노르체와데 배실 딕둑 땅에라 민지메 따임베 최나 제베 대사 랑 대를 미용 대당 초착받아 자더블 송아 인형.
To continue reading from the text at the top of page 5. I have been to some present-day monasteries and asked them how many fine individuals they have there. They say there are a few. When I ask what they are like, they do not say that they are learned, venerable, good, endowed with qualities realized, or that they benefit others greatly. So I ask who they are, and they tell me about individuals who have gold and turquoise, horses and cattle, and farms and property, who have this many retainers and servants, or that many possessions. They are the lifeblood of the monastery, they say, then the one named so-and-so and the one named such-and-such are good people, they say. What they call being good is being wealthy, so they must be desirous and interested only in this life. Being very wealthy is usually a sign of not shying away from misdeeds, suffering, or ill repute. Such a monastery could never be a setting for true Dharma practice. You should leave that place just as a bird leaves a lake when it freezes.
다디 가르승고르서나 팅상 대당 대사 대다지 커뮤니티 인도스와 대당 공부지가 나로 침배입니다. 아니 캐라즈 딜리아 지 가사 상부세난다도 미상부 미 야보든제 세난다도다 안다든제 가르가르요 요르베스 근데 요르베스 계저티비나 가시지 유에스도스 딱 간제든제 요레스 가사 상보험 야보 간제든제 요레스 계저티비스다네 다 치원닝네 전에 천들어 로로바이 생겼는데 민도스 다네 다 가르라고도 사나 세르다 유기 최지 섬을 저기 최지 스리오아 저기 다的추기 최지다 다주망부에 최진들들이 알아서 세르다 유망부에 저 rum부진들들이 알아서 다네지 신가 라서 망부에 죽은들들이 알아서 코로나만들이 캠보들들이 알아서 아 된제 세야 딱한다 니오네 되는 가족이 대다 공부한테 속신이래 다디 그래서 대다 공부에 잡네 배나 잡네에서 난다도 레디오 자산도 다 딘데싱게 체 가서에 체 줘버가와 딘데 디단 디스야 데데 땅모데 베메데 요레스 라고도스
So what this says is that when he goes to some present-day monasteries, or you could say communities and monasteries, and asks them how many fine individuals they have. So fine individuals means good people, some upstanding good people there. So so when Potowa asks them, he says, we have a few people. And so I ask them, well, what are these fine individuals? What are these good people like? They don't say that these are people who have really taken Dharma to heart and from the bottom of their hearts have given up on this life. Instead, what they say is that these are, they talk about individuals who have gold and turquoise, that is, who have a lot of wealth, or who have horses and cattle, who are rich with livestock and horses and cattle. And farms and property, they talk about people who have this many retainers and servants. They talk about kempos with a certain size of retinue and this number of students, or they have so many, or who have certain possessions. And they say that such people are the lifeblood of the monastery. Saying the lifeblood of the monastery means like they are the place where the monastery places its hope, the people whom they can really rely on, the people who they say are so important to the monastery.
Norj Chijungi Yawachilbus. Today, Tagarangi Sendiver Songus, Tagarangi Sendila Shensha Yevaji, you have a tarting dus.
And so the way that what they say makes someone good is actually not good at all. What they are doing is they're distinguishing how good someone is by the amount of wealth that they have. And so this shows that they are attached to this life. This is the evidence of them being attached to this life.
Then Demba Imihago Manda, near the Digicos. Demba Imihago Manda, Tain the Digicos. Dago Ineko, Gemushor was to Jaza di Shegi. Ma, Jawarim Jikundulia. Tugu, Dindiji, that Tugu Sava Summer. This Javres, Jerusalem, and Jordan Jiggy, and you cut them on Nangarwa. You Canadian Cadres, Cadanarwa, and Jerusalem. Trugudi, Rumbuchin dig, Kukumadela, Chevy in the Carriores, Cananas, Kuchevi in the Kuchevi, Takanda, Yundechevi, Yundenkara. That was the Shepsit to combat in the Izarwa. That was the Chictali roll, listen. Tachamad, Tadanga, so the slingy, Pelia, Kamla, Tachishi, Slingia, Tio, Tatina. The Tat is of it, Sakase, Sasu Jesus Sakare, Sasu Jesus Mat Cholmaris. That is Chuzukashimado, Chogumaras, Tak, Champotizuki. 군주가 대체에 가마르바 대체에 가마르 방도연데 가려래 방도연데 가려래스 가는 나라스 방도연데 시아민도 쓰고죠 라마디기 지 방바도 또고연데 가시아민도 그즈산을 구체에대해서 남사 베지 가르래 샤작보다 진짜 고수이들 와 세상 아니 뱀에 디 공기 고 고마도 구샤작고 싶으시서 봐 Then selling the Tacham is Zigi. I choose Chini Mother, two matters.
So there's a story here. I don't know if this is a true story or not, but it's kind of funny. So at any rate, there was once a new tulku who was brought to meet the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama, as he often does, asked many questions. Well, who is he? Where is he from? What is he like? And so the Dalai Lama at this point asked the question, well, what were the great qualities of his predecessor, of the previous incarnation? Now these people, they were from Kham. And so they said, oh, he was absolutely incredible. He was an amazing Lama. He was so fat that even the big horses from Kham were unable, from Xiling, were unable to carry him for even an hour. That's how great he was. And the Dalai Lama said, but that's not a sign of greatness. What are his qualities of abandonment and realization from the Dharma? So this is just a sign of how these servants, how the attendants were thinking. When they're asked what are the Lama's qualities, they don't think of his qualities of abandonment and realization. Instead, they think that being fat and being wealthy is really good. And so they said that it's really great that he was so fat that even the biggest horses in Tibet, the ones from Xiling, could only carry him for 1 or 2 hours.
아, 내가 가지 뒤에서 삼으지. 그래서 네 주어들 다시 안 되지. 라르 아숑지래. 라르 란드용 아버들의 현실 차원디 된 독로 도에 현을 팬 중세의 제게 대인들고 랑거서 천들을 lep거반디다. 주대 로나 예 뭐죠 근데 개발매 대나 최전되고 근이 심전을 팬 다발라 모두 진되바 미제바 인데 몰라 치는 산에 작은 냠네 콩라 심제지가 원이 대라 레마 좀 라르야 콩도 계시 콩양 오마와 그가 신신 년버주 최전되고 그 천디 되제기 세 최바 야올라 미진 라라 신기 친야 미사 타르 사레스 손이 최치이처럼 유인스.
To continue with the text, generally this attachment and greed for the 5 sensory pleasures leads to lasting suffering in the end. Thus, even if you were to help others a little, you would need the result to come to you in this life, and there would be no difference between you and all those toward philosophy. Therefore, anyone who wants to practice Dharma should not expect any favors or reciprocation in return for helping others, who would then think that they needed to repay the favor. If they failed to reciprocate, it is possible that you would get angry and they would feel ashamed or inadequate and go astray. Anyone who wants to practice should not even give their fellow practitioners food with the strings of this life attached. If others give it to you, do not eat it. In the end, it will become a back and forth of food that will eventually cause you to lose the Dharma.
I think that philosophy should change. Maybe you should change it to Dharma.
So there should be a change in the text. It should be, there would be no difference between you and all those who have not even turned their attention toward the Dharma.
다디 가르친 거로서나 알아들어야 최바스 제제, 최밤, 다지 가서에 남바상계 최념는 생계에 남바상계가 레스 민다샤는 디저 아주 가르쳐서는 미신다 팬 컨디션 답이네. 팬도 컨디션 체비네. 대라야 수지 가로렌라야 삼불레 중나야 민되버지기 로시게
So when we are called practitioners, or Buddhist practitioners, or Buddhists, what that means is that when we do something to help other beings, then we shouldn't expect anything in return, not even a good response.
너나 현라 팬 답을 주도야 드부텔 현라 팬 톱을 지금 레와 잡아 마도 베기 소소 모소요나다 미현다기 지다 코거진 신부인 코 가수에 투지 신부인 삼드레게 가수에 진행지야 민도바치 그래서
So what we should accomplish from benefiting others, the result of helping others is just that we help the others. We shouldn't expect that they do something to make us feel good. We shouldn't expect that they then say, oh, they're very kind, they're so compassionate. In brief, we shouldn't expect any gratitude or reciprocation.
타나 몰라 신도스다는 배 무슨 호랑리야 베너지 잘라를 제베 잘라지 제고 삼베네야 에너지 가르에 가르에 더지디 무슨 소마르다 제 라멘다 가르에 어레 드네 뉴스안에 다디 가르쳐서 잘라도 제비 로봇 제비네야 안디기지 하마오베 토네 그럼 프리부데 하마오베 토네 수수 로봇 제비 하마오베 토네 로봇 체네야 뭐야레스 계시 소수 로봇 제바데 버리고디 하고소나 차르지다 가보 용어레스 내가 지다 가보 용어레스 이나야 타마텔라 코란레 셈제지 용어레스 다그 안을 니들 빼미시 야고 제레스 제상에 콜라 파지 야고 제마도는 ndrimi sambarabji 텐디지기 가르르다지 코란레 셈제지 용어레라 다가난 신기 양테라 렘마존 소소이 콘트사레 네 엄마 콜라 빼메 야고 빼메 제인스 바코즈 그 다다 지 넘주된다 드지레 섭상로치 드지가 토네 아니 콘트로 있겠지 그래 근데 인주산 도나 라신니가 아니 축비시마도 지 연구 많아
So what this is saying is that when we give things to others or when we help others, it's best if we do it in a way that the other person does not know or does not realize that. Because if we do something to help others and they know that we are helping them, then maybe at first they will be, one time they'll be happy. For the short term they'll be happy. But then eventually what they'll start thinking is, that person treated me really well, and it wouldn't be okay to do something in return. And so they'd start feeling uncomfortable. And then if they didn't do anything to reciprocate, then it just becomes the basis for conflict between ourselves and others.
chambu shibuche na koran zu rewale ya koran zu chenbu gengo cheju san bu de zu ji yo ya ge de samaro be je dang de ji ro che ge de samaro be de ji ge rewa chenbu du xiang an tama ji lo chenbu che du san bu de zu ge su su ngar rewa ge ba de xin ji mo chung du an samla dong yan chenbu du 제가 전주 선바디 저기 셴펜 주야사 코랑게 내가 랭겐지 때 코랑게 랭겐지 근데 미 유산 디 준선 때네 아니 가르레 딩에 랭겐지 딩에 가르레 다 간다 말한게 최고야지 최외베 내가지 최외베 자와 된대지 가르레 주베베 차와 드리지 삼바마도베게 당에 드리지 파체는 제만 드리지 추용 그래 samsara dhiri rawa jaya manas.
We can see this in our society. When parents have children, then they treat them very well when they are young. And they have the thought, oh, when I get old, then these children will take care of me, they'll help me when I get old. And so they have a lot of expectations on the children. Then when they get older, if the children do not treat them as they wish, then it causes them a lot of suffering, a lot of mental anguish. So with a bodhisattva's job or a bodhisattva's responsibility is to benefit others. So bodhisattvas should think, this is my responsibility to benefit others. This is what I need to do. This is what is worthy of being done. This is what is worthy of me accomplishing. So in brief, we should not hope for any back and forth or any reciprocation.
Yan Chebaku, Lo Chela Makewar, Gegar Dukton, Norso, Mi Semzi, Pudere, Jini Chewate, Chela Nishi Makivelemai, Chela Ichi Gena, Pudin Chile Samame, Chela Sushin Duchena, Gegar Dudome.
To continue with the text. Furthermore, instead of bringing their minds to the Dharma, all practitioners gather wealth for fear of being badly off in old age. They make people feel good and look for some insurance. This comes from not developing certainty in the Dharma. If you believe in the Dharma, there is no better insurance than Dharma. If you practice Dharma properly, you will have no fear of being badly off when you are old.
다디 지랑 고대버르시에 가라르사나 은에 아주 최바 탐지에 로 최나 길이 오마르스 로 최를 마케스드간 로디 비 최를 로디 링게르 제제 오늘 저는 이제 다자 야탐바지 길이 오마르스 데 마기네 가르치고 오르사나 수수 시각에 갈라 누구 용거래 강에 태어래 삼네 가르치디도사나 노르소 아니 미기 셈진스도산다 미기 모송 빼레시 다는 신기 다 부den사디 다 내가 비 인슈런스 그룹에 가다들이지 가서다 제마 야부 마차나 엔급디디 배주 동안 없었지 근데 땀만 지금 윤원으로 샤지 근데 저것도 없어. 다들 최라 자자자다만 이제 많이 다르지. 최라 이제 개비 이미냐? 아니 저기 가수래 잡된디 최래 나가지 요 말았어. 최추신의 냠내 세वे네.人시가 개가 누구 영화 도박고 말았어.
I think this is easy to understand. All of us Dharma practitioners, instead of bringing our minds to the Dharma, instead of developing real confidence in the Dharma, 100% belief in the Dharma, instead we fear that we're going to be badly off in old age, that we're going to have difficulty in old age. And so we try to make people feel good. We try to placate people. We try to assuage other people. We try to make other people feel good, and we look for some insurance. So insurance here, what we really mean is that you try to have something that you know you're going to have when you're in old age, some sort of wealth or some sort of money that you will have in old age. And so this comes from not developing certainty in the Dharma. Because if we had real certainty in the Dharma, we'd realize that there is no better support for ourselves than the Dharma. If we truly practiced the Dharma, then we'd have no worries or no fears about being badly off in our old age.
largi ge sude ding yeba dawachi tidu pen toton da nyuma chaba lida da yuna chimala khowe dungen de ngeba khonor nyong juwala ndinamla chabsam budenam sechimen dumana penbari jiga chasu ju tangwala sendi gebati rale khonalo wa yela chime dungen dawe dala wa jawa shada chebandinam chebokui ya masambe 최 마삼 라신 탐지 되메기 동에 바시가 잘 더동 대신의 유대상나 수수에담 냠.
To continue with the text, generally, if we consider those who seem to have confidence that they would live to an old age and have the ambition to do something that might help themselves at that time, In the next lifetime, they will definitely experience only the sufferings of samsara. They should make ready some provisions, insurance, or anything that will help with their ambitions for the next life. Instead, they simply act as if old age in this life will happen only to them, and the suffering of the next solely to their hostile enemies. Not even Dharma practitioners have thought this through. Not having contemplated the Dharma, they only bring pointless suffering upon everyone, themselves and others. Who could bear to think about them still being like that?
다 될래요. 가수에 대해 단디 된다데 가르쳐 모르잖아. 안수 가수에 gengo 차샤 봐 누규예베기 딩수예 반잡지. 자가는 신기 디디 펜 토그레 삼베기 지 최시시부 지 띵네 데디가 알았어. 딘데기 내가 제단들 대비이나 지 세치마 코에 동에 지 가르에 다 세치마 다지 단동이네 배지 가르에 지 세럽 세치마 대치마 치마 대주기 체도 그 내가지 제사를 삼삼을 도대 이내 아니 그게 가수래 천디 gengo 차디 게베 동에디 소수지불을 연구해봤었지 세치메기 코로에 동에디 아주 소수가 더운더지 미신다더지 연구해마다 소수가 연구해마다 전화민도
So the meaning of this is that we make all sort of plans so that in old age we can have some assurance, some sort of basis and confidence that we will, some way that we will be well off in our old age. When we take a look at this, then it seems like it's people are not really thinking, that we're not really thinking about the sufferings of samsara in the next life. And the next life means also the lifetimes that follow that, the life in the next lifetime and the following lifetimes. It's as if we think that we should be making plans for that, but instead it's as if we think that the suffering of old age in this life, the difficulties of old age in this life will only happen to ourselves. The sufferings of the next life, the sufferings of samsara will only occur to our enemies, that is only to other people.
내가 흉지지. 가지 최체바라 야메서 최미제라. 네가 제발 네가 얘는 안게 좋대. 얘는 아이나데. 네다게 대근기 준바 추부 치워다. 코에동에 예 마삼라 키 차제남게 렘바다. 니는 김중밤이 김진진바 차와이. 제발 최체네. 등진 김법에 담바데 코르참베 따인데 마고 최체발라 최자머니 바티야 최라 이마체벨렘바인 최체베 동하게토 딕바세베 기도레네 알라토 중세레 오나 닝랍 천세체.
To continue with the text, some say they lack the provisions for Dharma practice and don't practice, but they find the provisions for committing misdeeds and automatically do them. This is because rich monks in monasteries have never contemplated death and the suffering of samsara, and you important people seem to be responsible. I say they are giving up a small household and taking up a big one. What they do is dharma, but their ego clinging is even tighter than a householder's. This is the sign of wandering in samsara, but they do not understand that. Not finding the provisions to practice the Dharma is due to not believing in the Dharma. They are afraid of that practicing Dharma will make them suffer and hope that committing misdeeds will make them happy. Hoping to get their hands on some small something, they do whatever they think of in their hearts.
다디 가르침으로서나 가시지기 당 아주 최지 제거성도 최체하려야 최가민도스 다 야스두산의 최샤를 다시 클라스를 스코어봐. 그 최체베링리야지 집 가서 배주다 삽제는 스코어라. 삽제 능금민도 최지제와 상도도 삽제 능금민도 제제 대리셔스. 이내 딕바치두산에 고 딕야 만이나 딕바치하라고라 톱제에서 만이나 어다 딕야 민도 제제 고 같이 된 지금민도 딕바 제장을
So what this is saying is that there are some people who think, oh, I need to practice the Dharma, but they don't have the provisions, and provision here means the food. They don't have the food, enough food to support them during the time of their retreat, and so they are afraid to engage in the practice. And yet, when it comes time to do misdeeds, they don't worry. Oh, I don't have the provisions. I don't have enough food to do these misdeeds. They don't worry about this, and they just automatically do the misdeeds.
드네주산다 니남 김중방미 김신진바사지. 가래스타나다 니 아주 담보 럽드 총주산에 김메바 럽드 총사로 김방네 럽드 총에 있어 봐. 김 충우되네 럽드 충 김진보 진진 대려. 배 예보는 신기 배 롱주다 다가는 신기 진종다 되게 자천부를 송제 대여를 다들 가라서 김충준 빵에 김친부지 바랬어. 배나 내라 셴발로는 룰라 차고도 직발 가서 내라 셴발로는 내라 차고도 직발했어.
So what it says here is, I say they're giving up a small household and taking up a big one. This means like when we go forth and become ordained, we say that we are going forth from home to homelessness. And so here, it's like they're leaving the small home and going to a large one. So they're going to one with as many provisions and facilities as if they were a king. So they're going from the small household to a great one. And so this is saying like you have lost all interest in barley or lost all interest in tsampa, but you start to like rice instead.
아주 디 수스타변 도용고의 김된 치중방의 럽든 중앙 가스야 점을 김기된 치중방의 럽든 중앙 가스야 나도 들으십니다. 김난 도랑 안 하죠. 코안에 예버는 중고다 럽든 중앙 사도 주주의 코아데 짜다 커부티고 잠기 럽든 중앙 쳐고만 해. 짜다 커부티딩 가지고 오는 누가 요르다 그래서 뭐 그런데 자다 커버티 등에 리쇼와라도 자다 커버티 그래서 뭐 요용도 와 제가 대장과 러드 총 얘기요 그러나 된다는 생각이 러드 총을 써야 돼다 코알라 인중계네 저 가수래 타바 된도 녀와 그렇지 된대지 고고야
This is as it is said in the Pratimoksha Sutra. It says that it is difficult to go forth from either a large or a small house. So it's like this. It means that just shaving your heads and faces does not mean much. You can see how many people are there who shave their heads and faces. Like how many people are there how many rickshawalas are there who will shave their heads and faces and put on robes. But if we talk about going forth, that doesn't really fulfill the meaning of going forth. Going forth means that you want to be emancipated from samsara and that you seek freedom.
다들 된기를 중사라는데도 오늘이 되래. 된저베라도 중화되네. 가르래 김바다를 준 이게기 코알랑 예버 중화도 김바다를 준 이가 직벌어. 김바 최 냠는 신이네야 코알랑 예버 준 거야. 자바라도 중화지 임비네 코알랑 예버 준 거야.
So that is the meaning of going forth. And actually this meaning is the same both for householders and for the ordained. Householders who practice the Dharma also need to seek emancipation from samsara. And monastics who practice also need to have renunciation for samsara.
사버도 라도 총한테 저기 네버죄바 돈바스는다도 지 기디 방랑치아데 kimberley pla즈지 진짜지 차신시바 기디 방랑 처십 징게 진짜지 고아레스 이내 딘산 쳐바다 라도 총한테 저기 가르쳐줬잖아 배 등진 kimberley 담바찬 최제제제 담아라도 등진 체로 친 나제 체로 친 안다 가르쳐야지 심규 셈 차도 치니 김바 탐매와 대술래 도즈 젠데리 도스 다디 가르잖아 최단난도 소아레스 수수는 넘기 최주되게 예배 속다를 제리가 된다 너도 최지 머주바 소아레스
For the ordained, there are the vows. There's the restraint or vows from wrongs. What the ordained should do and what they should not do is even more subtly described and more subtly limited than what the householders should do. And yet, for many ordained people, when they practice, it's like their ego clinging just gets stronger and stronger. The more they practice the Dharma, the stronger their ego clinging gets, the stronger their pride gets. And so in the end, what happens is that their mind stream becomes more and more solidified and hardened. And in the end, they end up worse off than they end up being worse than even an ordinary householder. And so what this shows is that the practice they are doing is fallacious dharma. It's not true dharma. And this is a sign that even though they seem to be practicing dharma, in actuality they are not accomplishing anything.
spiritual 다 도나 지 최냠내 징계성들이야 심슈 지 셈기 뉴버스난라도 지 이체변 셈기 이체기 뉴버 템포슈지 뉴버 시엔레게 캐버도 파바 심슈 시엔레게 캐버도 파바 뉴루 시엔레게 캐버도 파바 진짜지 고아 진짜지 충분히나 오늘 전에게 최번 냠내 바스난라도 오늘 전에게 지 최번 청주스난라 들리지 차도 와래 베네 지주밀레야부터 지주밀레야바 다 고랑기 지 가주래 자그라다솔라서 바티솔이야 검정아도 다시나시 나나나 시나시 삼사로 지기 딘디지가 바베 르동 첨부체 셈리야베 빠주인 소소소소리야베 빠주인이 지 로호로 지게체 딘디지 지브와 제가 슈르두산에 로체 먹고 하지다 간다 심슈체 먹고 하지다 뉴리시 먹고 딘디지래 딘디지 충분히미나 안 최자니에 만약에 그 도바당 최자니에 만약에 가서래 홀라 강에 채우 말았어 다다다 최자니에 민도 승에 가라서나 최자나 땅아 강에 채그래 도부 연구래 삼네 다 디거차나 기부 연구래 삼으로 근데 쟤네 또지 라발레야 베나지 고모 잘로르 지베나 지린도 군제 고모 잘로스 탑선아 왔다 선을 전세 제시하랬어
So, to truly practice the Dharma, this is a sign that they are not really practicing the Dharma, that they haven't really devoted themselves to the Dharma. When we're doing spiritual practice, when we're doing Dharma or spiritual practice, then we need to have a certain zeal. We need to have enthusiasm. We need to have power, strength of our mind. We need to have real belief in what we're doing. And our belief and our enthusiasm should be stronger than anyone else's. Our fortitude should be stronger than anyone else's. If we can do that, then we will truly be able to practice. If we're going to practice Dharma, we need to be like Milarepa. He went to many caves, such as the Jakartaso, the white cave, the horse-tooth white cave. And he thought to himself, it doesn't matter if I get sick, it doesn't matter if I'm going to die. And he devoted himself to the Dharma. We need to inspire ourselves to have such courage for our Dharma practice. And so we need to be able to have such devotion, such dedication. We need to have such enthusiasm and strength to ourselves to do our practice. Then if we have such devotion, then it doesn't matter to us it doesn't make any difference to us whether or not we have provisions. We're going to go do it anyways. If we think to ourselves, oh, I'm not going to get the provisions, I'm not going to get the food to do the Dharma, then really what we're thinking is, if I practice the Dharma, I'm going to have a hard time, I'm going to suffer. But we don't worry about that with misdeeds. We can see what happens if you get 100 rupees. Like if we're given a sangha distribution, if you get 100 rupees, then you'll do anything at all.
다 shumsile geshe gun shenla yunshe che zang lonju ningbu meba yinsen den ge serde rar lubu nolla deba de yimu rar cheda la len jawar chene shen nyendo kanande ran san sinye da su shenla ya sunyum ji ser chong ji ga ja so pa zam re mena la me ge tu la men do la chobu nam gun yang 당와 인생에 카쇼 로버는 주반도데 대랑기 땀그 깨와인.
Continue with the text. When geshes teach others the benefit of generosity, they all say that possessions have no meaning, saying things that seem to be quite true. But their innermost thoughts are focused on wealth, and that is depressing. When the Dharma and their actual practice become incompatible, how will anybody want to come listen to them? It is a sign that they seek material offerings when they say to others, give alms, do business, amass things. If you don't have a few things, the Lama will not pay attention to you, and all your friends will get angry. Their words contradict the Dharma, and that dissipates their warmth.
계획신에서 가담배 라마티술라 지기 다티사 라마사 처로데 뭐마 계시스라 거래 아데안디 계시스야데 아주 티산지 계시 땅아 계시 만다 다 계시 가담배 계시 뒤서 가시에 가르쳐 두서는 오의 윤시 시주사네 배나 진다지기 그랑 가르쳐야지 땡구송도 되는 신 땡구송도 된 신주사 다 진다 타마타마들 진다를 거 깨당하지 다 교랑 양 구송되는 신바의 약보레스 폐윤 첨부 요아레스 이제 야들 오해 유시스 거봐 다 이제 제도사 가르치도사 어다 론주에 닝부 요 마르스 제베 계자 덴덴다와 계자 덴반다고 시에데도 코란주 가르치데도사나 루부 놀라 덴덴 주놀라베 루부 덴덴도 다데베 응와사보도 미신달래야 론주를 닝보 말은 너도 치 소소베 론주엘레베 가르소베 이덤르 심제 대르샤스.
So here, when it says geshes, this means like the lamas of the Kadampa tradition. It's like saying lama these days. It's not like they took the geshe exam or something like that. With the Kadampa geshes, what they would do is they would have
some Kadampa geshes.
What some Kadampa geshes would do is they would give teachings on the benefits of generosity. So a sponsor would build some representations of the body, speech, and mind, a statue or something. And then in the end, the geshe would then invite the sponsor and give them give them a talk saying, it's very good that you've built this statue or this representation of body, speech, and mind. They're very beneficial. So this is called teaching on the benefits of dedication. And when teaching this, they would say things that seem very true. And they'd say, wealth and possessions have no point. And yet at the same time as they're teaching this, what they're thinking inside themselves, what their innermost thoughts are focused on is wealth, and that is depressing. So at the same time as they're telling other people that wealth has no point, they themselves are taking wealth as their own yidam deity.
소수기劝你写本能心나랑 주 소수기劝你写本能心가수의 소수기 주劝你写되다 라렌다 니부디 배 장게 체네 가수의 장게 첸데려 알았어 근데 인주사는 미게 가와니 그래서 밀 최신의 가와니로 쳤어 얘는 최신경 호랑리야 아니 가수의 최다라는 전이 되려래 최다라는 장계신 되려래 진짜 인san 되는 최년이 가와요 그랬어 빼나스 빼나 키지 수계 당비네 내가 고직 떼고 노도를 세세 발레소를 짓고 차르나 거기 수용거를 마도 유바찬 대선 키수 용고 말아 키 동다 땅 셔도 근데 수계 당은 고수 용고 말아 파 변로로 때는 신기 수수기 최수신의 냠내 맞아서 다자도 다 슈가 주쇼서 내 최시용서나 수지 용만은
So with these geshes, it's like the way they teach the Dharma, they don't practice the Dharma the way they teach it. The Dharma that they teach and their own practice are in opposition to each other. They're complete opposites to each other. And when their practice and their teachings are complete opposites, how is anyone going to come and listen? No one's going to want to come to listen to that. Who would want to come listen to someone teach the Dharma when the Dharma they teach and their actual practice are in opposition to each other? How would anyone come? It's like if you want to get a dog to come, you have to give the dog a biscuit. You have to give the dog a doggy biscuit. If instead you're going to chase after the dog with a stick, the dog isn't going to come. They don't want to come and get beat. They're going to run away. And so it's the same. When we do not practice the Dharma we teach properly, then we could say, come and I'll teach the Dharma, but who's going to bother coming?
이제 남사 제사 인기 말 오호 겐 주어마라 자매 Today is the Dinsan Benada Chigelia, Jonie, some of the Chigelia, Lama de Dang, or some Chigo Chigen and Sama. Chigen Rudusane, that Mima will I shadow, Tabda down. Advertisement channel. Uma the Cabra de Dungadus, I love some. Oh, that Toranzo, the Labrachimolea, be Yize. 연구에나 안들인데 잠배양 왔는 거 알았어. 저도 상모 쇼스. 아니 잠배양 왔는 톰나 라브라 체모를 이제 견로래. 근데 뒤도스. 양 가시지 벤조디서 야부시라 남도 죽으면체 지 가서 분구 된로지 서면다 간다 지 장지 깔라카부 차도시도 어디한테서 아들이 잠발라 왕고 예스 에 가서 벤조 야부차 총 야부차고 선거도 상모 효 안디지 왕 톰나다 지 차로 대사는데 가서 잡았던 것도
These days, when lamas go abroad, you have to make advertisements. You have to advertise the events so that people will come. And so people have told me about advertisements. Like they say, the advert says, if you are about to take your university exams, they're difficult, so come take this empowerment of Manjushri. If you get the Manjushri empowerment, then you'll pass your exams. Or sometimes people are worried about the economy or about their business. There might be people who are about to go bankrupt. And so the ad will say, if you are in financial difficulties, come take this Jambala empowerment, and then you will be wealthy, and you'll be prosperous, and your business will go well. And so these are the sort of advertisements that people make.
인류산에 빠쳐지네 세상 예원심을 캠부치 코 아메리카리아 침 아메리카 당부 주주산에 엔 캉바 다 최시에서 캉발레 캉바델레 로송 클라스 땅으로 캉발레 최시에 주산에 미숨시 마도 연구면도스 삼바도 교용도스 미숨시 마도 마연데 아그 삼바교는 산다 그 동행라고 미신다가 시에입니다. 미신다 시주산나 디난 두구지기 그런 것이 두구지기 교란데 가 말했어 교란데 숨쉬지 여러체 야보레스 나고마 당부 치게를 레두산에 왕지 꾸라지 왕 꾸라지 원주체 상마 잘 홀레자로 홀 초간레자 옹두체자 상마 제서 메시지 용님인데 메시지 용님 고고고고고 수지 용하는 다 지게림네 원두체 왕구야 팅탐버스 자네 먹음니 바 제조 제샤나 찜지 야부 용서 말해서 된송스 게트키퍼지 도스 대하게 당했어 고승긴지 꼬야게 난 어따 저랑 드린 아주 기 가수에다 짜시바다 짜시바 지인도 지람네 그걸 부모때 하긴스 아 그런 게 지게는지 하이 굿 그런 가버리 쉬지 그런 괜찮아를 저도 제마 계접 주주다 꼭 같이 지래도 다들 지게 라마도 두통베 루주제 밀라레베 두통베 루주세 저와 옛날 지게 라메 두통베 루주
So a Kempo I know once went to America, and the first time he went to America, they rented a place and they had to go through expense to do this. They advertised, and he was teaching Dharma. And the first time he taught the Dharma, only 3 or 4 people showed up. And he was like really disappointed. He was kind of depressed. You know, he first time coming, and only 3 or 4 people showed up. And so he talked about how disappointed and how difficult it was. And so then there was a tulku who said to him, "Oh, you're actually doing okay because 3 or 4 people actually showed up for you." And the tulku said, the first time he went to America, he gave an empowerment. So they rented a hall, he did all the preparations for the empowerment, they were ready, they had this big hall, and no one came. They waited and waited, and no one came at all. And so it was like the first time he was giving an empowerment abroad. So if he just did the concluding ritual and closed up, then that wouldn't be a good sign. It wouldn't be a good connection. So they looked for someone. They found the security guard. And they called the security guard and had the security guard come and say, oh, now you're really lucky today. We're giving you this empowerment. They gave him the empowerment. And so this is abroad. So this person's like really happy. It's like, oh, great, I've got this empowerment. How wonderful. Later, they ended up speaking with the security guard, and it turned out he was Muslim. So these are the difficulties that lamas face when they go abroad. It's like the story of Milarepa seeing suffering. It's seeing the sufferings of lamas abroad.
I think you said that. You so sweet, you train the seven and singing. Lalan Tawa in Bina, and the mission that mission that get Chevy and Jigo orders, Jintai orders.
And so if you really practice the Dharma properly, as it's taught in the Dharma, then when you speak with other people, there's a certain weight to that, there's a certain value to it.
Then Ruba Yugi. That to lose him with your lord begging. Carson or Sana. Hor don't chison Luya, Rodin Cherumason. Horgi Mijig Mother Maya, Rodin Churumason. Tindiji, Dawajoras, the Carresan, so Duni Nijireso. Says Antoni Niji, that Chanju the same gomni. Duni Nibuji, Chanju the same gomni. The Yamin Chavina. Go simply jiggy, Terma Drumadovina, Ate, when it's an again, Gideon. Tendreve to Duni Chanju sem be Gomot of Shen. That's it, me to Chizu, don't to Chizumam Dudi Vina, turn to and a shame to Piakrahab.
That's like the great Drukpakaju Mahasiddha Lorepa said, if you gather crowds of thousands or tens of thousands of people, the benefit to others does not increase. If you only have one person in the crowd, then it does not get any smaller. So what this means is that when we have the union of emptiness, compassion, when we have bodhicitta, that in essence is emptiness and compassion, then if we meditate upon this emptiness that is this bodhicitta that is in essence emptiness and compassion, then even if we only bring benefit to one being, that's fine. If we don't meditate upon bodhicitta that is emptiness and compassion, then even if we have crowds of thousands or tens of thousands of people, then we will not really be able to bring any benefit to others.
Champagne drew 2 minutes at it, 2 months of Gulon. One at an Shella, Lapis Samba, Cabaret, the Digi me, Delarale Dinsa. Then Arang and Mute Chavina, Kashigi, Penitentiary in the Zambecolia, some to the Jabecolia, one at an Shella, Pesum Giguani, Gunia landed Samuel Nusana, only Mima was a Pendoyon. Kashigi, Tenju Zambecolia, to social care in the 20 end of Chepe, Carter. 现在他们这所以现在的大全部的现就是啥呢？现在的偏多是来面定业的去，不定的其他就是这，这里就是啥？他的做的先偏给公路原面就是啥来的意思嘞？
So whether or not what we do will actually accomplish benefit for others depends upon our motivation, whether we have a true extraordinary whether we have the truly extraordinary intention. It's like in my experience when people write books or texts about the Dharma. Some people really have the thought, oh, if I do this, it'll bring benefit to others, and they write the text, and it really does bring benefit to others. Some people think, oh, if I write this text, then it'll show how learned I am, and they put everything that they know in the text. They write this huge, thick volume of the Dharma, and yet in the end it doesn't really benefit anyone. This is because it really depends upon our motivation. And so today, this is where we need to leave this teaching, you could say this instructions or the teachings on Potowa's long soliloquy.
다다리 거주문을 tin 소시베 걸려야다. 맞아. 녜게 랭게 쪼르디 맞아. 다 주변 소리들이 차서.
And now my primary responsibilities in this 34th Kaji Munlam have been completed.
And 아니 제래야 너브리 모놈 수하체. 안데네. 아 곰지 잡죠. 곰 가망아스 견주고 다 주시. 도시다.
And following this, we will recite the aspiration to the state of the path, which is on page 341, and then we will have 5 minutes of meditation.
Demo nija sumju sobde. Dep nija sumju sobde.
아니 이제야 다 운중업 시작은 운중업디 다람산 제토 아요 섬 정도 가르스나 남균이 운중업디 제심부터 데스 로종매비나 운중업디 하고 제시하는 섬을 레라슈르다 잘했으면 돼야 되면로
So next is our meditation. I'm not sure if it'll work out to focus on the breath or not. I think actually you have to have a little bit of education before you can really follow the breath. So maybe it's actually easiest to just focus on sound.
다 너나지 곰데 게두사네 지금 데베 지금 니주 데베 제미 좀 마음을 두면서 사는 신기 지금 데베 니주 디디 지 태야드서 참샤 마음의 니주지 친나게 하드서 참샤 다 다대기 내겁들이야다 모멘트 말에 다대기 겁리야 니주 가르치고 예비네 디기 내당 니주 가르치면 디기 가르쳐야 니주들 지 템베스면 체제 될래야 심표기려고 그래.
So as you say when you meditate, the situations of the past, it's like we say, don't follow the tracks of the past, don't anticipate the future. So you should, whatever the situation of the past that comes to mind, you should stop thinking about, or take a break from thinking about the past. It's likely with the future, don't anticipate it, don't think about what will happen in the future. Instead, just think about what's happening at this point, at this moment. You think about with the current situation, with the situation of the present moment. Then just catch that with mindfulness and let your mind relax.
배나 차샤면 아주 기 가르사 우글 셈데네 섬을 롱래 다 우더 롱선 처음에도 대 고마데 미세죠. 배나 가란수 상을로 우단데 오르면 니마 딱 말이시. 우단디 지당게 내다는 주주와. 그러 전신 가나주 지당게 내대 내다 미세지 저거 말. 지당게 가나주 내다는 차려. 할래 헌토고야 니주지게 저거 말. 근데 이제 참사고 지당게 내다 인자 인샤샤로 제연 주사 삼상아 우단게면 하고 면 와. 이내야 오늘 전에 삼다비나 아주 우디 다음에 차서나 가르쳐는 시도로 우파 당선 나는 우야면도 시도로 된저 우당야데 지 추주지래 말은 니마지 말은 나와지 말에 로지 말에 왜 인생 고모 유리야 안다 깨네 손에 맛이 봐도 우당데려 드네 주산에 다텐저 우당 옥시젠데 실로기다지 디산 세리비시안에 지신 나제 디저 충분했어 와 제가 딘데기베 차겐지 가르쳐야 말안 소리야 다들 좀 돼요 아래 지금은 손분내 투야지 가르 맞잖으로 된 알아서 다들 유디야 대 유디 주산 대랑아 주기 상로지 땅에도 다가랑기 당아 지 개바 상보래도 상바르지다 네 원서 첨보래도 아주도 손분내 돼야 원서 첨보래도 상바르지 증거로 다가랑기 셈을 디기 용어로 봐 이쯤 버르지다 일에 대화로 용어로 봐 이 주산 대 가서 삼당과도 계십니다
Like with the breath or the air, really meditating on the breath, it's something that we do all the time. It's not special. We're doing it every day. It's just an ordinary way we are. There's nothing special about it. We don't find anything amazing or anything incredible about it. But when we really start to think about it, we just sort of take it for granted and we don't really think about the breath. But if we really start to think about, well, what happens if we were to stop breathing? If we stop breathing, well, we'd die. If we were to breathe out and then we weren't able to breathe that back in, what would happen? We'd die. And so we do this not just for one day, not just for a month, not just for a year. We do this 24 hours a day from the moment we are born until we die. We are always breathing. The oxygen that we breathe in, as scientists explain, this comes from plants. And so we have everything we need. We have like the basis, the riches that allow us to read. And so just having this, thinking about this, if we really think about it, we should realize how incredibly fortunate we are. We should think how incredible it is that we have this opportunity. Just thinking about this should give us some sort of a feeling of happiness, a feeling of contentment. So it's important to remember this.
다나시 베나 자데 삼다인 두사네 아주 미다바사디 미마우지 삼레나노 치와 미다바스 두사네 치와 미다바 고면서 두사네 탕하시그리 ngapesa노도 성사로지 근데지기 지금 직바 직다게 대한 근데지리야 치와 미다바 고면서 거래 근데 치와 미다바 고면서 두사네 타지도지 배지 미딘비 초안에 삼당과랑 아유나 삼자 미다바사디.
And when we meditate on the sound, it's like impermanence. Often we think about impermanence, we think, oh, I need to meditate on death and impermanence, I'm going to die, it's going to be terrible, poor me. And so we meditate on impermanence. We think that the purpose of meditating on impermanence and death is to become afraid. But I wonder, is that actually really the only thing that we need to meditate on impermanence?
미다바사르 고급지를 좋아하는 시합이네. 고급지. 재상 안아서 쇼베스 가르쳐. 까마찌기에는 삼로땅바디야 까마찌지를 제법 야초도. 이 갭초하다 가르쳐나 미다바 인상 아주 제법 잡초고. 봐도 딱과 있는 제법 야매와. 누가 동아매와. 다는 신기 다가나 신 아주지 배나 저들이 동용도 산에 깨체로라 깨충로라도 와. 대야 미다바 인상 꼭 깨치중 당하여 여러분 미다바마이나 아니 깨지고 막 저거 말아. 아니 지 림부도 스tam비네 깨지고 막 자면은 녀보여 말아. 되네 두산 뒤준전되네 미다바세 아래 고급지미지. 간다 뒤 고급지야 까차르지 까마르지 시진 나라서로 고급 제타 매버지. 근데 주에 되면 아주 하고 거기다 계십시다시. 제상 아주 고급지 덤진钱. 최근에 시대에 미다바 검사한테 고급지 덤진钱. 아주 고급의 마셔르첸 고급 진짜 고급 스토브 D급을 주 수수기 주외에 차와디파 딱딱딱딱 주야지 지 가서에 수수기 템베스 맞아 딱딱딱 주야지 디메를 주어면다 보면서 거 이 디균 저 공부시에 다 간다 공부시미 다 가망한 공자인 다 가망하된 저 용어래다
So, actually we should think of impermanence as like an opportunity. It's like in every moment we have this opportunity. Because whatever we were thinking about in the previous moment, we can change that in the next moment. Because it's impermanent. We can change it. We can swap our thoughts and think about new things. If they were permanent, we wouldn't be able to change them. We couldn't exchange old thoughts for new. Likewise with sound. Sometimes the sound is softer, sometimes it's louder. This is because it's impermanent. It's because it's impermanent that the volume can change. If it were permanent, it could only make one sound. Like if you were playing a flute, if the flute only could make one sound, it wouldn't sound good. So impermanence means that there's an opportunity. That means that we have a chance and an opportunity to change. And so we need to take that chance. We need to take that opportunity. So I think when we're meditating on impermanence in terms of the Dharma, that means that we must not let these opportunities slip by. We must take these opportunities and do whatever it is that deserves our doing right in that moment. And so if we have the mindfulness that we need to do it, that is in itself meditating on death and impermanence. And so we now have the time for meditation. We will meditate for 3 minutes.
깨는 지다 지금 거르지 나서 다디 디젤이야 그다디 세다스는 마저 삼을 쉬야지도 아니 가자니 손에 아주기 도스바 미 만조도 단는 이 디제가래 등교 말에 그래서 가자니 손이야 지기야 디제가래 최버도 제가 다를 두세브래 제가 최버도 먼저 두두시나 삼자서 지당 다적 도마시야 최버시야 되사데 표기 권배 르네지 제가 다 베베 르네지를 슬람 두고 왔다 조진에 시나 제가 니나로 달로디 조디 거규모람 나로래야지 그래도 튀실라면에 좀 티에 다디 수상원 체인주산에 대단 제여를 체제 아니 까마랍게 조디 까마랍게 구신이야 감 무슨 개만에 개범이 유도지 보도 까마랍게 구신이야 담아지 로르메지 다바르 제베게워 다드네 강래야 긴주추니 아버지는 주진계 자가 주진계 신고선수 근데 자가 주진계는 가시 괜찮아도 제가 다디 유샤 가서 레섭스 되네 구루 생기지 신나상선 구루 생기지 나로 야직도 다대 양한테 다 유샤 가서 레섭스 중수 제가 다디 가라 진주촌 초니체 디가라 genchu도 초니 좀 다가다 게르시 다드네 당하나 제로치고다 다드네 워들이야 예초 워들이야 예초 도마 시분디 워들 계젠디비 개버시면 되시죠 다들 상이 준비된데 사기기 때문에 좀 리아베 까나샤 된제가 답에 남부지 수마서야는 라도 다가들이 차려 다디 파조디 연초리야 도마시 디워들에 벽이 년신디시 벽을 라디주 아주 다다보다 도마시는 도매나 군유요 제가 다 벽을 라디주 디즈야 베 되란도 당제 디즈 제고도 대마제신 야보면도 오삼 아니 벽이 년신디시 샤게 마게 보라 로 이게 마베 장게 년신 타라 아니 되네 가래 너 요새 동라면 다 가는 데지 무슨 말해 제가 그냥 두스파 거르주지사네 아니 바지 빠 자주 이기래 아 그냥 소리야 모바일 폰 쿠르쳐버디 내 가자 쉬는 신기 나로지 내 우주를 잡지 모바일 폰에 쿠주고 도스 우주 잡래 제가 강주 다다버도 야부를 채송 팀도 야부 송지 강주 팀 야부 무슨 건조만 주체는 땅 안 나고 차로로 그래서나 모바일 폰 구주고 있으면 아인상 안 나고 차로 다이네 또 스코라도산 덴베고레 데리가래 도마디즈레 디즈 파르자보나 안 파르자쇼 아니 담아발라디즈든 가산 던두산에 지금 제가 땅되게 소리지 배 직제대로 들이 제모죠. 그런도 르르 로중이야. 아주 제가 땅되게 소리잖아. 이 민상으로 지게 가서다 착보를 쳐야지 하고 싶다. 르르지. 주주인데도 앉아서 르르시 당사. 야 오면 로섬다. 담아발라도 좀 먹어지.
Next, I have a little announcement that I'd like to make. Starting yesterday, actually, generally, we haven't been allowing the public onto the stage, but starting from yesterday, we have been allowing the public to come and view the tormas and the offerings during the lunch break. Making tormas is actually a Tibetan tradition. It's a tradition from all the different Tibetan Dharma traditions. So you can say it's a Tibetan custom or a Tibetan tradition.
Monastic.
It's in all
culture.
It's part of Tibetan culture. Then it's done in all the Tibetan monasteries. Part of the monastic culture. So for this year, during the Kaju Munlam, because we have had the teachings on the 4-session Guru Yoga, I thought that in connection with that, we should have the tormas of the 8 karmapas. So the 8 karmapas means the first 8 karmapas from the first karmapa, Dusam Kempa, to the 8th karmapa. And so actually we have different tormas every year. So this year we have the 8 karmapas. And then above them we have the 6 ornaments and the 2 jewels. So the 6 ornaments and the 2 supreme ones, I should say. The 6 ornament and the 2 supreme, this means the great scholars of India. At first we thought of putting up the 8 great Mahasiddhas, but some of the 8 great Mahasiddhas are kind of bizarre, so we thought better not do that. Then I thought about putting up the 8 forms of Guru Rinpoche, and one of those is kind of bizarre, so better not. And so we've put the 8 scholars known as the 6 ornaments and the 2 supreme ones, so that's a total of 8. Then below them, for the tormas on the right-hand side, we have the 4 great kings. The 4 great kings are kings who, during the time of the Buddha commanded to protect the teachings of Buddhism, and so they are general protectors of the Dharma. On the left-hand side, we have the 4 Nyenchen, the 4 great Nyenchen deities, protector deities of Tibet. We haven't had any Tibetan deities before, so I thought we should give them a higher place and praise them a little bit this year by giving them a higher place. Nyenchen Tangha and several other deities in each of the directions. And so as you go by them, you should feel to take pictures. This year, I've insisted, I said that everyone should be allowed to carry their mobile phones. And because I insisted, then I said it wouldn't be acceptable, you must allow phones. And so you've all brought your phones, and you've been very good about following the rules. It's important that you follow the rules, because if you don't follow the rules, I'm going to look bad, because it's me who insisted that you should be able to take phones. So if you don't follow rules, I'm going to look bad. But when you come and you see the tormas, then I think if you take pictures of the tormas and of the Buddha and so forth, and the offerings, I think that is fine.
그들이 가산이 내된 주로디 나 그선이 근주르다 내된 주로디 결혼되게 상으로 도공 다근으로 치아 처리치아 도공으로다 가산시에는 신 군주 아주 셰러 구유들산 디게 겐쿠르지 내된 주로 최쇼 라인바 내된 주로 다 된리슈 돈은 어서 된리슈 돈은 라브레 양주 캠보드서 죄체는 가르쳐고도 다다 예원 하상 된리슈는 신체는 가르치고도 제재 다 되면 저는 내든 줄을 잡아주고 오었다 내든 줄을 제 대라 셔지 줄을 제 셔리부 다 몽게 부체 내든 줄보다 셔리보다 몽게보다 링보시고도 내가 가서 쉬봐 안에 링고도 쉬봐 디지레 디드링고도 다는 신기 아주디 청구 시대에 캠퍼스 예자지 배고도 되는데 배모 취딩이 가라데 캠퍼스 배고도 쭉 배모 취딩 캠퍼스 예자 교수라나 다다 소저스 라조 바디제 오샤이 대규모죠.
Next we will have the dedications for the living and deceased.
쇼저는 저상에는 저만은 뒤에서 남다른 것을 라신기 사실 상에 이게서 저주 등을 버지다 다자라조의 간유수님들 저희들 상와 유상기 전랑 투기와도 모남시는 멤버들 대신에 다소 심쟁게 야대도 생각해 받으면 대신에 다소 심쟁게 라말라셔도 기준이 기고나 저는 정보라도 뭐 구성도 대신 라바좀 태삼공사 버려되시면 주의 계산 유명한 점은 사람에 가서 심쟁가서 상계가서 고만년에 선을 결혼을 주지 시가서 꾸자서 거야서 게임에 결혼 디젤의 순병화차 순병화라 토대 바라쇼 조주나 조베 상계에다 저주선 바담지 菜单店吧，那个公司给女人吧，能吃的店吧，那个公司说菜单店吧。家尊仁波切算了门年嘛，原上的监狱面，吕崇明、朱伦凤舞、陈任邦、林三郎、翁素慧、秦庆松、Ruth Koo、Chatty Chan、Sopto Mary Fogg、Kim Jenkins。老说吧，那个是新菜单店吧，在那个通门面板呢，他在那土给包的，基本的重要的，处理不的重要的，公包的就会给做，给我的给都做的，给我的技术也让给做。开发的多，这几个路了，我觉得吃不标的，给对了，你给我吃不的，回来就去不干着吧的，取用了，多么标的，如果了多么。渔民也的了，这么长不了是不给我做的，基本上吧，手给那这个说，全给说的，看不到老板的，怕他没我那着。他也不是叫他们给的了，把他们给了三个多把了。대마도 기본 새롭는 동지 대주를 비좀 좀 밀려 더 바라. 밀려 타면 야 티고 심베 개회 신년다 제 바라. 뒤에 당화를 제수 배만은 대주보라 치다난 거 봐도 좀 좋아도 차게 좀 쇼금으로도 바라. 대권하신도 신병어와라 두대 버려 조준나 주로 상계의 주의서 모두 신체련의 바 편소 최다 주인 노부 태양 드라마 파모 주짐 정민龙谭明佳郑新本符月霞蔡天赐江茂旺杨德征、张、胡晨光、赵双成、NG Ball、Nick Jennings 拉说吧拉我说是，今天人把那新菜的在把这打了，我是新菜的在把这打个体育送的上面给我找，基本的中华的水的中华。我把的就给我找，基本的就是找的，基本的就是让他们给我找，训练些把大家印度的把那新菜的在把这打个。군조라 저보다 긴들이 이거를 잡아다 가시럽게 버려도 좀 말아봐도 최경라 너무 필요하다 중국라 너무 당한다 유민이를 너무 잡아서 계획자디 신세례 잡아 가들에 경우 로를 하나 가도 이제 계획자와 대단히 치시는 로를 그동안 타다다 되는 대줄밀 피순 잡아도 봐라 밀리턴에 야 군조선 게 다돼 봐라 군조선 게 다되는 군조선 나 대바터 봐라 군조선의 대바토는 인격으로 심기지는 라베시 다다로 나바탐제게 상계도 봐라 대권하신도
인지 권조 손으로 차차로 대대야다 벤자리 아원보다 나의 소화 대대야다 나자드라 서로 대다 샤트리나 메소 메다다네 바르도소에화 권조 손로 차차로 대신시바 라즈르바 양다브라즈베 상제 남브라 남제라 차자 파바 전주 셈바 쳔고 토지 쳔보단 덴바 남기닝고 차자 대디야다 벤자리야 오보다메소
대야다 벤자리야
통라이저런 대신 셔바 남다 천수 셈바 탐제 통라이저 물론 제드라다 바이션도 통라이저로 대마 십자 숨주르서 십자 숨주
조전의 Gendin number la ni sing share la tren ka ju mo lam ni ye ba yen de number 2 ke uta yar jo ma je ba na ro na thu je che